Hi, everybody. Just wanted to take a quick minute to thank you all for your attendance and registration at our AI and AbaData webinar yesterday. Obviously, a topic of high interest to our usership and industry in general. And that was evidenced by the overwhelming utilization of the AI assistant during the webinar, which temporarily brought the system down to its knees and unfortunately made it so we were unable to properly demonstrate the capabilities of the AI assistant. This is an issue that has been resolved. We are actually restructuring it as we speak to support a much more robust user base. In the meantime, I wanted to take this opportunity to just quickly run through the demo part of the webinar for those who might be interested in the full capabilities of the AI assistant. And so I'm just going to switch over to my screen and we'll start walking through the demo very quickly here. In AbaData, you will see on the bottom right corner a button that says AI Assistant. If you click on this, it opens the AI Assistant tool in a much familiar manner to a ChatGPT or a Gemini that you might be using on the web for doing AI prompting. There's a prompting window where you can enter your prompt. So in the webinar, I mentioned the premise behind the demo was to create a report that doesn't exist in AbaData. So I came in and said, I'm interested in what AlphaBo pipelines have a wall thickness of 3.2 millimeters. I hit go. It will go to the AI assistant. It's attempting to interpret my request. So I've asked a very specific question. It's now going through and determining how to convert that request into a query to access the database, which will then come back with the expected results, which the AI assistant needs to format and put into a manner that can be demonstrated on the user screen. So here we have the response. It was able to identify 691 pipelines owned by AlphaBo that also have a wall thickness of 3.2 millimeters. A little bit of a description at the top. It does a bit of a pie graph, we didn't specify what to graph on, so it has chosen, in this case, the operating status of the lines. There's a quick preview for you to peruse the data and make sure it's what you were expecting. And then there's a download button at the bottom where you can access the Excel version of all of those results. Again, this isn't quite the report I wanted, so I needed to make some tweaks. And so I can come in here and I can say, actually, I only wanted pipelines with a material type of Z245.1 and a wall thickness of 3.2 millimeters. So I'm restating my query, but adding some clarifying information into it. And that's an important fact. Again, I mentioned during the webinar, the quality of the prompt is very critical to the quality of the response. And so the more information you're able to provide the AI assistant, the likelier you are to have the expected results come back at you. So again, it's now recognized that I'm looking for only that material type, which has led to only now 1,664 pipelines. Again, it's broken them down by operating status. There's a preview. And finally, at the bottom, I can download the full report. Switching into full screen mode here, just by clicking on the full screen button below the prompt window, takes the screen and makes it take up all of the AbaData real estate. And you'll now notice on the left-hand side, we have access to our entire chat history. So here's where we got a couple of those got through a couple of those sample prompts that I had requested. The first one being, what pipelines are on my screen right now? Now, this is the one where we demonstrated the fact that AbaData currently doesn't have access to visualize the map as it sits on your screen today. So if I click on this 10 of 2520 west of 4, I'm saying this is the area I'm currently looking at. The chatbot has said, I don't know what area you're currently looking at. And so I have to clarify, and I say, I'm looking at section 10, 2520 west of 4. It now goes out, finds that information, will return the results in a table view. There's also a bit of a bar graph here where it has grouped them by outside diameter. Your full results, and again, the ability to download that full report to your device in an Excel file. I mentioned the fact that the AI assistant is only able to answer queries that are AbaData or AbaData data related. In this case, the prompt here is for asking for a good recipe for banana bread. And I just sort of did this as an illustrative purpose to demonstrate that as the chatbot has responded here, my knowledge is limited to the AbaData GIS platform and its associated energy and regulatory data. So it's unable to access things that are outside of its scope, essentially, is what I'm demonstrating with that request. Here we have another request where I've asked which well reported the highest single month production of all time in Alberta or Saskatchewan. And so as we come down here, it will identify which well that was. However, it also has context on that data. So if you look at this, the second paragraph here, December 1961 was the largest single month gas production volume ever. However, data prior to the 1970s would often have an entire year's worth of data rolled into a single month reporting. And so it's identified that that may not be the answer you're looking for. And instead it has come up with a value here in 2006, which is more representative of the modern reporting structure that you as a user are expecting to see. And so it's come down here and given a bit of a sampling of the top ones. And again, download that full report to access it. Now, I didn't specify how many. I just said the highest single month. So the results in this report may not be what you're expecting. You may want to qualify that prompt a little bit with some numbers just to give the AI assistant a little bit more guidance on the expected return values. Here's a great one. Give me a list of all the wells that fall on Canadian Forces Base Suffield. So CFB Suffield, southeastern Alberta, has a large amount of well sites on it. It's gone ahead and done that spatial query against the regulatory data to identify 16,218 wells that are on within that boundary. And it breaks it down here by status, does a little bit of a graph. Finally, you're able to download all of that data if you need it. I followed that up with a bit of a qualifying statement, which is interesting. And I said, actually, what about a list of wells that are within 1 kilometer of CFB Suffield, but aren't actually on the base? So this query is demonstrating the spatial capabilities of the AI assistant. There is no data set inside of AbaData that has a 1 kilometer buffer around CFB Suffield. And so the AI assistant has had to create that 1 kilometer buffer and then use that created buffer to query the amount of wells that fall within it. And it's identified 6,788 wells. Again, it's broken them down. In this case, it's chosen field name, but you could clarify that request with the prompt if you wanted it changed. There's a bit of a bar graph, summary of the responses, and then finally the download full report. So I thought this was a really interesting use case where you're able to identify spatial features on AbaData, but they don't have to stay the way they are on AbaData. You're able to perform spatial operations on those data sets in order to create resultant geometries that can be used as part of your query parameters. Next one here is another query that will combine multiple data sets inside of AbaData. And the prompt is simply, which Synovus wells are on dispositions that are expiring soon? What it's going to do is take the dispositions data set, overlay it with the well data set, and create a result set that we can analyze here. It's gone ahead and broken it out by disposition type. It's also done an assumption here. Because I didn't really specify what I meant by the word soon, it's done an assumption where it's saying, I'm going to give you the results of dispositions which are expiring in 2026 and 2027. Now, if that's not what I as a user was expecting, I need to further clarify that prompt and give it a date. So I would say, maybe which dispositions are expiring in the year 2026. And then I could get that result back out. It's done a sampling of those Synovus wells that are on those expiring dispositions, graphed them out here by disposition type, and created a couple of different reports. One of them are a list of Synovus dispositions. The other one is a list of wells that are on those dispositions. So again, it's anticipating that I might be wanting more than the results that I was asking for here. You'll notice on this particular report that we have a surface location which has come back blank. So it hasn't recorded the actual surface location. So I'm able to clarify that and point that out to the AI assistant essentially. And I just ask, why is the surface location blank? Can you populate it? It will then go ahead and you'll notice populate the surface location and regenerate those reports that I can then download. That's an important aspect I wanted to point out, is you're also able to manipulate the results and have them formatted in the way you'd like. So here it chose to put the surface locations in a UWI format because I didn't specify. So if I were to say, actually, I don't want the surface locations in a UWI format, I just want section, township, range, meridian, then that's the results that I would get. So you're able to, again, manipulate the returned values and have them displayed in the way that you would like them to be displayed without having to do any post-processing sort of after the fact. The last one here, and we're almost done, is, I thought, a really interesting example about connectivity and tracing molecule flow from source all the way to destination. So I just came up with a very simple question here. And if we wanted to look at this on the map, we can just zoom there by clicking on the location. But I said, which pipelines connect the well at 4 of 15, which is located here, to the site at 10 of 15, which is located up here. It's done some analysis on my query, identified that there are, in fact, 2 pipelines that are going to connect that well to that site. They are line number 10 and line number 11. And if we hover over these two, you'll see that one's 10 and that one's 11. And therefore, that's how the product gets from that well to that site. You're able to download that report. It's identified some also other potential pipelines that might be used, which is why there's more than just those 2 lines in the sample data set here. Now I want to drill a little bit deeper, and I want to say, based on the latest well production data, what would be the expected flow rate through each of these pipelines? Now this is an interesting query. It knows that I started at 4 of 15. So it knows, okay, I'm going to get the production for the well at 4 of 15. And I'm going to assume that all of that gas is making its way down the connected pipeline. However, if you look at the flow rates that are calculated, line 11 has a different flow rate than line 10. And that's because it's recognized that 12 of 15, this well here, is also contributing to the flow in line 11, along with the line 10, which is feeding production in from 4 of 15. So it's creating that amalgamation of production and reporting it out to you, the user, accordingly. Now, if I was a pipeline integrity specialist maybe, or someone looking at potential internal corrosion risks, I could further drill down in here and say, based on historical well production of these wells, what are their max flow rates? So what is the most amount of gas that has flown down them? And so it has recognized here that in 2004, we had these max flow rates through those pipelines. Conversely, I can also ask, based on historical well production, have these pipelines experienced any months of no flow or no production where they're sitting essentially idle? And again, it's able to recognize, based on historical well production, that we've in fact had 3 months of no flow in each of these pipelines, and it's identified them for me. So very powerful tools. Again, using traditional reporting, these queries are very difficult to answer. And I think we've demonstrated here today just how quick and easy it is as a user for you to get in there and start exploring that data to find the results that you're really interested in. Thank you very much for watching this. I hope it wasn't too long. I hope it was valuable. Again, apologize about the hiccup we had during the live webinar, but that's sort of the risk we take with doing it live. I do hope that you will join us for the second part of our webinar on April 21st. We'll be diving a lot more into demo. There'll be much less sort of preamble and introduction to AI and what we're doing here as a company. And we'll really start to explore some of the potential use cases for the AI assistant, specifically as it relates to data that's collected from the field. So operational data within your organizations and the value that can come from those analysis. So yeah, thanks again, and we'll see you next time.